Hey, what's up, guys? Squid back for another one. Speed draw number 5, I think. Maybe 4. I'm not sure. I'll check later. But today, in the background, we're going to be drawing a little bit of Genshin Impact characters. Jean Clark, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Jean Grey, however you want to say her name. But before we get into it, I just want to start off by saying, if you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. If you dislike the video, be sure to dislike. Let me know what I can improve on, what I can fix. And today we're going to actually be talking about what a lot of people have been talking about with Genshin Impact, is the similarities between Genshin and Breath of the Wild. I want to start off by saying I enjoy both games very much. I think they're both fun in their own right, but we cannot discount, or not discount, but we can't take away the fact that it definitely has some pretty big inspirations from Breath of the Wild, which I don't think is a bad thing at all. I think having inspiration from a piece of media is actually very flattering. You know, if someone found inspiration from what I did, I would, I'd feel great about it. But let's start off by talking about the map design. The map is pretty similar in terms of design. I know there are a few points where the maps actually kind of overlap, if I'm not mistaken. I'll find the pictures and throw them up on the video, but I know there are a few points. It's like on top of a mountain and like the starting area where you are walking down the cliff to see the city initially. I know that those have pretty big similarities in between the games, but like I don't really find that as like a terrible thing, you know. I don't think those similarities make it a clone. I think in terms of like design of the map, other than not design of the map, but in terms of graphics and the look of the map and the feel of the world, I think those are a little similar, but Breath of the Wild had a very distinct, the colors were a bit darker, and obviously to reflect the tone of the game, the two tones are totally different for the games. One follows a very anime-esque story with lighthearted characters and a pretty mild story for the most part, and then Breath of the Wild is just like, yeah, it's 100 years later, Hyrule is in ruins, all of your friends are dead, and the princess is probably dead, so it's like, okay, well, that's a pretty grim way to start the game. So the map, I think, reflects both games very well. So the next thing is, let's talk about like movement, traversal, combat. Movement and traversal, I think, are pretty similar. The running animation, or the animations themselves, obviously are a bit different, but like the movement of climbing up things, and even some climbing bugs from Breath of the Wild, I'm pretty sure carried over to GI. But I don't think, like that stuff doesn't make it like a clone either. I think I really feel like those things are, if maybe they got certain assets from Breath of the Wild, I have no idea. I'm not gonna say they stole assets or found assets to use in Genshin Impact or whatever, but I do think that some things are similar, and why would bugs transfer over if you weren't using the same assets that had those bugs? But whatever. But I think the traversal is the flying mechanics. I think Breath of the Wild's flying mechanics are better, but the flying mechanics are definitely similar. You have the stamina bar costs for like performing actions apart from attacking, but I feel like the traversal and stuff, it's similar, but it doesn't make it a clone. Now the combat is very different, because Breath of the Wild, you have, since you're one person fighting against this giant army of villains, you have all these tools at your disposal. So it just breeds creativity, if I'm no pro at fucking playing Breath of the Wild, but if you see some of those guys on YouTube doing like the SSX tricky fucking backflip jump shots off of mountains and then stopping time and then hitting a boulder 50 times. I can't do any of that stuff, but it's really cool. And the fact that you have the option to do that in Breath of the Wild is very cool. But Genshin Impact is like totally different. As we all know, it's like it's a gacha game for one. So you have multiple characters that you can play as. So they could have gotten super in depth with the fighting mechanics, but I mean, how time consuming is that? You have, I think right now the game has like 25-ish characters, maybe a little less, maybe 20, 15. But you can't do intricate combat design for every single character. Or I'm sorry, you could do that, but this company, they went a different route with its intricacies of combat, and they did a elemental system. So it's like some things combined with other things to cause more damage depending on what the monster's attributes are. So like I know electric and fire type magic makes like overcharge, or is that ice and lightning? I can't remember. But it's like cool stuff like that where you can mix and match your characters in the game, where you can come up with some super cool combos. And the characters also have their combat animations, which I think depending on the classes kind of have the same animations, but like with tiny tweaks and each character. So you have like your left click attacks, and that brings out like a flat combo, and then you also have like I know a lot of them have charge attacks, so you hold left click, and like if you're a one-handed sword user, you'll do like a double slash for the most part, and then if you're like a heavy sword user, like you'll spin. But I know some of them also I think Diluc or Diluc, whatever the hell his name is, he does like a combo instead of like spinning. So I mean, there are differences between the characters, but I feel like for the most part the characters are pretty similar when it comes to their like auto attack animations. But still, I feel like the attribute system is really what makes it different in terms of combat, not really the actual auto attack animations themselves. But it's still, they're both super fun games. I love all the character designs. I think the characters are very lighthearted, and the designs are cool. The characters are interesting enough to keep me engaged. I think it's a fun game. I don't really find any reason to attack it for being a clone of Breath of the Wild. I know it's not really happening now because everyone's playing it, but back when it was like first announced, oh my god, but that was also when Breath of the Wild kind of first came out, so people were still on that hype train, and people were just not having like a clone. Oh, this is like, of course they're gonna clone the best Zelda game ever, which I think is debatable. I don't think it's the best Zelda game ever, but that's a topic for another video maybe. But yeah, it was crazy back then. But I'm glad that all that has kind of died down now. I mean, you still have the loyalists who won't even try Genshin because oh well, it's just a clone of Breath of the Wild, and why would I play the worst game? But I think it's definitely worth giving it a shot, especially because it's free. Like if it wasn't free and it had a $60 price tag, then yeah, that's different. But it's a free game. I mean, what stops you from downloading it and playing it for 2 hours to give your opinion on it? But like I said, that stuff doesn't even matter. I think that for the most part, people who don't like Genshin are just loyalists, and they don't even really have an opinion on their own because they've never tried the game. So that's something that could easily be fixed if they just tried the game. They'd see the differences. They'd see how much fun both games can be without being, or even while being similar. I mean, because if that's the case, then that's what makes any open world game fun. Why would I play Grand Theft Auto if I could, or why would I play Red Dead if I could just play Grand Theft Auto? Even though we'll disregard the fact that they're made by the same company, but it's like the same idea. Open world game where you can a big sandbox game, you can do whatever you want, and you can kill people, steal shit. It's all the same game, but those tiny differences is what makes you play both games. But that's really it for the most part. I think my final verdict is that they're both fun and both are definitely worth getting. You know, Genshin is worth playing and Breath of the Wild is worth playing. They're both awesome games. I'm very happy that both of these games exist. But yeah, the video should be finishing up here, and I hope you guys like it. Please be sure to like and subscribe. I also link my social medias in the bottom. So, you know, if you like what you see, please give me a follow, and hopefully you like what I do in the future. Thank you. See you guys the next time.